Hi, I'm Tom Dobbins, your Extension Director at Clemson University, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to the most dynamic team that we have at Clemson University, the Cooperative Extension Service.
Welcome into Conversations with Paul Brown. We are down in Townville, and our guest is Dr. Tom Dobbins, and you and I go back too long.
Yes, we do.
But he is currently working for Clemson University. He's in charge of extension, and there's just a lot of things. He just was recently recognized.
You know, as I look back, when I was growing up as a son of a farmer in Townville, it was hell. Because we worked from sun up to sundown. I never remember not working, and I thought it was the worst life in the world. But to be honest with you, growing up on a farm in Townville, South Carolina, was the best blessing I've ever had.
And you were milking, which means somebody had to do something twice a day, 7 days a week.
It was 7 days a week, twice a day, and plus we were a true family farm, Paul. We didn't hire any labor. And so at that time, to Daddy got everything paid for. We had a couple of people who helped us with some farming chores, but we didn't have anybody helping us milk, and so it was family operation that did all the milking 7 days a week, twice a day. And so there was many a weekends that my twin brother and I never saw the bed, because Daddy had one rule: be here before 2 a.m. milking. And so Joe and I slid in under the clock several mornings at 2 a.m. to get in to get the cow's milk.
For those that may not be aware, give me the history of Dairies in Anderson County.
Anderson County, if you you don't have to go back real, but Anderson County was a heck of a dairy capital in South Carolina. We had Pierman Dairy, we had Borden's, we had several major bottling companies here in Anderson County. Back in the early 50s, we had over 300 dairies here in Anderson County that were milk, that were, selling the board and putting it in the cans, and they was coming by picking it up. When I became the area dairy agent in the late 80s here in Anderson, we had, at that time, we had well over 100 dairies here in Anderson County when I first started into that. And then, of course, we had the whole herd buyout that really devastated the dairy industry in the southeast, and so it dropped down to around 60 dairies in Anderson County. And then from that point forward, because of the way that we sell and market fluid milk, to today we have one dairy in Anderson County left, and it's a shame at the way that we have really gone to a vertically integrated business in the dairy industry, which I would have never thought would have happened, but it's gone that way. Back when my father and mother were milking, 275 cows was a huge dairy. Today, if you're milking less than 1,000 cows, you're not considered that you're in the dairy business. So the dairy industry in South Carolina has really changed during my stint with Extension Service. The milk, the price that they're receiving on farm today is lower than what they were receiving on farm in 1973. And so that kind of tells you why people are no longer in the dairy business. It's a tough business, and it's a good business if you're making money. But it's a tough business and a bad business if you're losing money. It's like you said, 7 days a week, 2 times a day, and so it's really hard to get motivated to get up and do that type of work if you're losing money. And right now, most dairies in the state of South Carolina are losing money. The way of agriculture, we keep hearing that we got to feed the world population is going to double by 2050, but agriculture is really taking it with the tariffs that's been hit now. Family farming is really taking it under the chin. And I say South Carolina, right now in the state of Wisconsin, which is our largest dairy state, they're selling out 3 dairies a week, and so it's a really tough reality that we are taking. But Paul, the thing that really bothers me about the dairy industry is the genetics that we're losing. My father worked the whole time he was in the dairy business to build up a genetically superior Holstein herd, in which he did. He had one of the top herds in the Southeast, not only in South Carolina, because of the genetic selection he did. And now all that genetics is gone. And so when we look at these mega dairies, it's 3,000 cow dairies, they're not paying attention to the genetics that we have that need to have to continue on. And the herds in Wisconsin, which we got a lot of our dairy cattle from, the mom and pop, what I call mom and pop dairy farmers, which really took pride in breeding cattle and making sure that the genetics were there. I'm really concerned about our genetic base in the dairy industry in the nation, not only in South Carolina.
Have a lot of those dairy farmers gone into beef?
I would say 90% of them. And if they have not gone, their farm is still growing. They have leased it out to people that are running beef cattle on their farm. Beef prices are kind of stable or stabilized now, but the way that you can make it on farming now, especially in upstate South Carolina, is you have to be very diversified. As you can see, agriculture is drastically changing in our state. Kathy and I went to Virginia Tech in '96 and then came back in '99 to take over the Ag Ed. I took over the Ag Ed program at Clemson University, which we had 7 students in it at that time. And my charge by Dr. Warenberg, our dean at that time, was to rebuild the Ag Ed program. And when I left that position and become division chair, we had over 150 students in Ag Ed, and we were really doing good. And so I was division chair for 2 years. That was over the agriculture division at Clemson. 2013 is when I became extension director for South Carolina, and so I was a 10th extension director. And it's the funny story about becoming extension director. Back when I was Jay Gooch, who was president of Auburn, was our vice president, and Dr. Bill Warenberg, who I visited with not long ago, he came and talked to me, and they came to me one day and said, "You got 2 choices: either carry your behind back out into the counties and get to work because you are a leader in the extension, or go get a PhD if you want to stay on the campus, because there's going to be no room for you if you don't do that." And I thought that was the worst thing that they could have ever said to me, but to be honest with you, that was the best thing they ever did. And going to Virginia Tech was a great experience for me and my family. And then coming back to Clemson, it's opened up so many doors.
We're going to talk about that in extension and how it's changed over the years.
When I went to work in Anderson County, and Jake Barker was the director, county director, there were 21 people in that office that worked for the Extension Service. Today there's 4 people that covers basically what we covered with 21 people. In 2008 we got hit by a tremendous recession and cutbacks, and so we've been building back.
But at that point, when you had the 21, everybody specialized. If I had an issue with my dairy or my beef or my row crop or whatever, I was talking to one guy that specialized in that.
That's correct. And we still do that, it's just on a bigger scale.
Right.
We no longer have any general agents. All our agents are very specialized, and they cover multi-counties. We still have 46 offices. When I became director, we couldn't cover all 46 offices. Since that time, though, we have 46 offices now because of the support of the Department of Agriculture, South Carolina Farm Bureau, South Carolina Forestry Commission. They have really supported us and supported General Assembly, and the General Assembly has been very good to us. Now all 46 counties are manned. We have a full-time admin in all 46 counties, and we have agents that cover all 46 counties. And so we've been very blessed with some good economic times, and to be able to return that back to the Extension Service.
For someone that may not be familiar with Extension and the services that you provide, give that individual an overview of what you provide for the citizens of South Carolina.
Horticulture continues to be one of our big areas. We do a lot of home hort. We've got the HGIC program, the Home Garden Information Center at Clemson, which is the highest hit web page at Clemson University other than football. They receive over 2,000 calls a week into that center at Clemson. We also are still with our soil testing lab, our plant ID lab. We are still providing something that is unique to everybody. We can still help people with their landscapes, their plants, their garden, their home gardens. And of course, our big thing is still water and helping the farmer. And so we're still committed to doing that. We have a new program, our expanded food and nutrition program, which helps people in underserved communities plan nutritious meals, where we're doing rural health out in the state, and it is paying dividends big time, where we sit down with the elderly and show them how to take medication, work with them on their meal plan where they don't have to decide whether they got to take their prescription drugs or eat a meal. And that's a big problem in South Carolina. But Paul, this is one that we'll probably get in a little trouble about, but we have a mother's milk bank. MUSC has proved that premature babies, if they get mother's milk, they have a 75% more chance of surviving than if they don't receive the mother's milk. So we piloted it in 9 counties. Now MUSC wants us to put it in all our counties. We have people signing up to come and deliver the mother's milk to us. Of course, the milk is checked. Of course, it has to be put in a certain container, and we've got refrigeration units in our county offices that handles the mother's milk program. But it has been, number one, a phenomenal program, and number two, it is saving preemies' lives. And it couldn't be a better program for us to do. But I will be honest with you, when they first introduced that to me, I said there's no way that will fly in South Carolina, but it has.
Why is 4-H important to the future of South Carolina?
You know, it's one of the things about 4-H and FFA that I've seen through my life is that it teaches the soft skills. And when we go to the Chamber of Commerce, to businesses, one of the things that they say about all our students is that they don't have the soft skills. They don't have the public speaking. They don't know how to interview. They do not know how to write thank you notes. They do not know how to properly give a presentation. They don't know teamwork. They've been individualized for so long. In other words, I got to be the best in my class. And so 4-H teaches all those skills, especially teamwork and how to be part of a team. And if you're not part of a team, then you're not successful. And so one of the things that Molly Spearman, our Superintendent of Education, is really pushing now, and that we are going to put into a lot of our schools, is a leadership certificate program to help build those soft skills in our youth throughout the state of South Carolina. Our 4-H program is the fastest growing youth program now in the state. So I'm really excited about what we're doing in 4-H.
You were awarded the Clemson College of Agriculture, Forest, and Life Sciences Alumni Professional Achievement Award. If that's not a mouthful, what is? Were you surprised?
I was surprised, I was humbled, and I was very honored to receive this. Of course, Mr. John Parrish nominated me for this award, and one of the greatest humans that I know, and has been a great mentor for me through my entire career. Not only me, but my son as well, Troy, thanks to Mr. Parrish, is a second granddaddy. And so he really has helped a lot. And I think if you talk to any of the state officers that's gone through our program in the last 30 years, they're going to speak very highly of Mr. John Parrish.
Yeah, he's been able to bridge in what he's done in Columbia from the legislative standpoint, translating that to help 4-H and help FFA. He knows the people to contact, and he gets things done.
He is a go-to person, Paul, when you go to get stuff through the legislators. The legislators respect Mr. Parrish because they always know Mr. Parrish wants it for the young people. It's about improving 4-H and FFA. I average 3 days a week on the road, and I'm on several national committees for Extension, which I truly believe in the Extension Service. If it wasn't for the Extension Service, my father would have never been able to do what he did on the farm here in Townville. And so our family business, we owe it all to the Extension Service. And so I believe that whatever you do in life, you got to give back. Before I retire, I want to make sure that the Extension Service at Clemson University will last for the next 100 years. I'm as excited about our new Career Center. I think the future for young people in Anderson 3, 4, and 5 is great. Our school system in Anderson 4 is the best it's ever been. Our superintendent, Joanne Avery, is the superintendent of the year for South Carolina. The little school that I went to right up here in Townville, South Carolina, is probably one of the best elementary schools in the state of South Carolina. We have teachers in our district, Paul, that are passionate about teaching young people. And you know, when I hear people in my Sunday school class and they talk about what's wrong with young people, they haven't got to meet young people. We got the best young people that I've seen in a long time coming through our school system. They are hardworking, they are good kids, they just need a little guidance. And so I think that the future is bright for us here. Education is a passion for me. That's something you cannot take away from a person once they get it. I think that our government would be in a lot better shape if our people were educated and knew how to research and find the true answers and not rely on Facebook to get all their information. I think that's one of our big problems. And so before I leave here in this world in Anderson 4 and through the Extension Service, I want people to think, to look up information, to research information, and not to Google it and think that what they Google and what's on Wikipedia or Facebook is the gospel, because that's going to get us in a lot of trouble. So an educated populace is our most powerful deterrent against any foreign adversary that we will ever have.
Great note to close on. Dr. Tom Dobbins, Townville, has been our guest on Conversations with Paul Brown. We want to thank him for his time because he really is one busy guy. We want to thank him for sharing his stories with us. We invite all of you to be back with us next week, same time, for our next edition of Conversations with Paul Brown. Until then, take care, everybody.